Okay, so this will be introduction video for Google Sheets. So we'll go over how to create basic spreadsheets and how to do some basic design elements on a spreadsheet. So first you need to log into Google Drive. So you do that by going to drive.google.com. You're gonna need some sort of Google account, Gmail account would do, or really any Google account. You're gonna have to log in, and then you will go to drive.google.com, and that will take you to your Google Drive. In your Google Drive, you can create folders by right-clicking and going under new folder to organize your files. Otherwise, if you are in the correct folder, you can just right-click, go under Google Sheets, and blank spreadsheet. And this is what it's going to look like. So first you want to name your spreadsheet. See on top left here, you click, you type a new name. So in spreadsheets, we have columns and we have rows. So columns would be A, B, C, D, E, and rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in the middle, we have cells. And if you want to refer to a cell, let's say this is the cell we're trying to refer to, you would go by the name of the column, which is column D, and row 4, which is 4. So I would refer to this cell as D4. Now that's because it's in D column and 4th row. You always start with your column and follow with the row number after that. So if you have something in a cell and you would like to clear it, you simply press delete on your keyboard. That will just clear that value. And then you'll most likely want to navigate by hitting up, down, left, right arrow keys. You can press Command or Control plus to zoom in and Command or Control minus to zoom out. Below in this area, we have what we call sheets, tabs, or worksheets. You'll hear different names. It's all the same thing. So this is the first tab and this is the name of the tab. It's called sheet 1. If you would like to change that, you will just double click, give it a new name, hit enter. And if you want to add another tab, you can just hit this plus and it will add another tab. Obviously you can double click and name this as well and hit enter to save that. And you can reposition these by clicking and holding your mouse and dragging it to the left, right? So now it's gonna be the first one, or we can drag it back. And here it is. I'm gonna go back to this basics tab and get started. So let's start by creating a very basic spreadsheet that will keep track of our expenses, I guess. So I'm gonna type some items we're spending money on. So we'll do rent, insurance, car payment, groceries. We'll enter some amounts. So I type what I want, hit enter, that sends you to the next line. So now we have things we're spending money on and the amounts on the right. Now we're gonna go below and type the total. And here on the right, we'd like to get what's the total amount for all of these expenses combined. So to do that, we're gonna go on the right bottom corner. See, if you roll over here, there's this little icon. It looks like a plus, I guess. And it says explore after you roll over it. I'm gonna click on that and this is gonna show up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm simply gonna highlight all of these numbers. And then I go on the right here. See, I want the total, which is sum. So I'm gonna click on this number and drag and drop it right here to get me my total. I'm done with this. I'm gonna hit X and that's gonna close it. Whenever you need it, you'll just click on that icon again. It's gonna bring it back. And you don't want to have this left open all the time because it's gonna slow down your work. Now, the great thing about this total is that if I go back here and change this insurance amount to a different amount, let's pay attention to what happens to my total. Hit enter. See, my total will automatically update without me having to go back and recalculate it. And that's one of the benefits of creating spreadsheets. Now, as I did this, I've realized that this was for my current month. Now, it would be nice, so we could say on top here what month this is for, but I didn't really leave enough space on top, so we're gonna have to create that space. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go here, see this is the row 1, is the first row. I'm gonna go and right click on that row, and we're gonna get this menu, and I'm gonna do insert one above. Now, if you're on a Mac and you don't have a right click on your mouse, you can also press Control click, which is the same as right click. I'm gonna go insert one above, and that's gonna do this. Now we have a new row on top, so we have more space. I'm gonna go on top here, I'm gonna type the month. Let's say this is for January, so I'm gonna do JAN. Now, after I have January, I now want to do the next month, February, etc., right? Now, I could go here and start typing, but another thing I can do is use autofill feature in Google Sheets. Now, what autofill feature is, if you click in a cell, see on the right bottom corner, there's this little box. So if you roll over that box, you'll see that your cursor will change to this little black cross. So that means you're now using autofill instead of just selecting. So I'm gonna go to that corner, click and hold and drag to the right. And it's automatically just gonna go to the next month over. So this will work if you do months, like short months, JAN, or if you do January, the same way. You drag it, you can drag right, or you can drag down. And you don't have to start with January. I could start with March and drag, it's gonna go to the next month. I'm gonna select all of these and hit delete. Now this will also work for days of week. So if you do like MON for Monday, you drag, it's gonna go the next day. If you do full Monday, same thing, click on it, drag, you get your days of week. I'm gonna delete that. Now let's expand on this. So rent. So our rent is apparently 1,500. So it's probably going to be the same for all of these months. So I can just click on that 1,500, go to the corner. And when I have that cursor, that little cross, I click and drag. So by default, the behavior is going to be if you type a number, you drag, it's just going to repeat the same number over and over. Let's say insurance is the same too, right? So I'm going to drag that over too, and car payments are the same as well. So I could click and drag this one over, or I can also select these two together, insurance and car payment, and then go to the corner and drag. That will do both of them at the same time. So now let's take a look at groceries. So let's say every month I spend $5 more on groceries than the month before. Now, if you remember, the default behavior is this. If I drag this, it's just going to be the same number over and over. I want to go back before I did this. So anytime you do something, you change your mind, you want to go a step back, you can do undo. So undo is this arrow left, or Control Z or Command Z, depending on the platform you're on. I'm going to click on this. It's going to take me one step back. I'm going to go here and type the next number. So I have 450 and 455. So now I've identified what the pattern is going to be, but I have to explain Google Sheets what the pattern is, because as of right now, again, if I just click on this and drag, it's just gonna go and copy this number. I'm gonna undo that again. So the way you do this, you first select these two together, and by selecting them together, I'm showing the pattern I'm trying to continue, and then go to that corner and we drag. And see, it will go up by 5. Now, if I wanted to go, I'm gonna undo this. Let's say I want to go up by 3. Then all you have to do is just type 453 and then select these two together and drag. And now it's gonna go up by 3. You can also decrease your numbers. So let's say this 450, I want to go 440. So less 10. So I'll select these two together and drag, and it's gonna go less 10 for all of those. Now, the last one here is total. Remember, the way we got this total, we clicked on this explore, and then we selected it, and if you remember, we first selected the numbers, and then we just take sum and drag it wherever we want the total. That's how I did it. Now I'm gonna close this. Now I want to do this for February, March, April, etc. Right? Now I could do the same thing. I could select these numbers, click here, and say sum, drag and drop here. I can then select these numbers and select sum and drag and drop here. But this is a lot of work for each column. So what I can do, I'm gonna first clear this by hitting delete and close this. I already did this one, the first one for January. All I have to do is go to the same corner and drag and use my autofill to do the rest. So same way, it will just sum up every single column going right. Now, let's say you wanted the total for all the months combined. So I'm gonna do total, and I want to sum up all of these. So again, you select the months, you hit on the bottom right, explore numbers. Now you can see how everything gets on the way of what I was trying to do. So I can just scroll here to the right a little bit by using the scroller, and then take my sum and place it right there. That's my total. Now, if you didn't want the sum, you wanted the average for each month, you would just grab the average, drag and drop over there. And I will just type average. Let's close this. And I'm gonna scroll left again. So now if you want a total for each item, all you have to do is just drag it down. If you wanted the average for each item, so the same thing. You'll just go to the corner and drag it down. Okay, this is good. So now let's try to make this look good. So some common things people do, they do backgrounds for labels. So see how January, February, March, they'll select this area, they'll do some background color. You do background colors by going here. See, because I zoomed in so much, I can't see everything. So then it's gonna create this more to show the rest. But you can also zoom out a little bit. So I can do that by doing, if you remember, Control or Command minus. So I can see more of these tools on top, and I'm gonna select these. I'm gonna go here, see this paint bucket, you click on it. So that's the background color. So if I go here and select some background color, that should do it. If you want to change the color for the text, you'll go under this A, select your color, and then on the left, I'm gonna go here and do the same. So I'll apply some background colors. Let's assume this is going to be different a little bit, and maybe some text colors as well. Okay, so this is good. So another common practice that people like to do in their spreadsheet, they like to add some borders. So borders are like thicker lines across this area. So an easy way to add borders, you just select an area where you want those borders. Let's say here, and go here, see these lines, you go under borders, and then you choose what type of borders you'd like. Now, this first one is gonna just draw borders across that entire area. So if I click on that, see we have this thicker black line across that entire area selected. I'm gonna click away so you can see it. Now let's say I want a thicker line here below, right above this total, so I can separate my totals from the rest of this data. So I can do that by simply first selecting this area right above that line. And then I go here under that border tool again. And first I choose the color for the border. So if you don't want this to be black, you will first choose the color. Now for me, black border is fine. I'm gonna keep that. You could also change the color for your border, obviously. And then you choose the style for your border. So I'm gonna go border style. And then I want it a thick line. So I'm gonna choose, see this is a little thicker, this is more thick. I'm gonna choose this third one. After you choose the style, and a color for the border, which we already did. You go to this tool, and then I wanted this area below my selection to be in that color and of that thickness. So I go here, see it shows this little thicker line below the area. I click on that, and now we have a thicker line below this area. I'm gonna also do thick line here on the right side. So again, I'm gonna select this area, and I'm gonna go with the right side of my selection. I'll go under this tool, and see the color and the line size should be already selected. So I'll go here and do on the right side of that selection. And finally, I'm going to add a little thicker line here, right below my labels. I'm going to select this area, go here and below that area. So now, after I did this, I've realized that I wanted my totals to be in the same format as all of this that I did on the left. So to do that, you can use copy format feature. So for example, if I like how this rent cell looks and I want to apply that same background color, the same font color, etc. to this total cell, I can just click on that cell, and I can just go on top and click on this tool, paint format. I click on that, and then I go here and click on the other cell. And that's just going to take all the formatting from here. See, it took the background color, it took the font color, and it also took the border, and it will apply it to this cell here on the right. And then you could also apply it to multiple cells at the same time. So I could just click on that rent cell, go under paint format, and then just select all of these together. And that will just apply to all of them at the same time. You can also do this for an entire range at the same time. So if I like overall the coloring for this entire area, I can just select this entire area first, go under paint format, and then go here and apply this here on the right. So I just click on the first cell, because if you highlight a range, then it's gonna apply the same size range. So if I select this entire range, I do paint format, I click on the first cell in this right side, it's applying it to the whole thing. So the same way, if I want to apply this for this average column, I'll select this, paint format, click, same formatting. Now let's say I want to also apply the same label formatting. I'm going to click on this, paint format, select this too, and that should apply that formatting to that as well. So far we did background colors, font colors, and borders. Obviously you can select your colors, you can change the font, you can make it bold, which is something you might want to do, and so on. Some of these things I'm not going to go over, because if you used any kind of word processing, you already know this, so that should be fine. You can also use this tool, see here, to align your labels. So if you want them centered, you'll go and do this. That will make them centered. And same here, you can make them centered as well. But now let's talk about number formatting. So for numbers, there are specific type of formats you can apply. So this is not going to apply to text. See, these are text. So that doesn't apply to this. It applies to numbers. So I want all of these numbers to look like, let's say, currency. So you simply select those numbers. You go here on top, see it is 1, 2, 3. You open that. That gives you different formats you can use. So if you wanted to use like 1,000 separator or something like that, you could use this number format. So if I click on this, see, it applies that formatting to all of these. And you could use all of these different formats. Obviously, you should choose whatever makes sense. These are not percentages, so I'm not going to do percent. So if I do currency, that will add currency formatting for these numbers. If you do this formatting, maybe you want less or more decimal points. So for me, I'm going to go back to just number formatting. And this is my 1,000 separators. And it also adds 2 decimal points in the end, 2 zeros. Now, I don't care about those decimal points. I just want to display whole numbers only. So I can go here, see how there's this 0, 0, one side and then 0 the other side. So this one on the left is decreased decimal places. So if I click on this once, see, it will cut 1 0. If I click on it again, it will cut another 0. Now if I click on this right one, that will do the opposite. It will just add more decimal places. I'm gonna just cut this to whole numbers, so no zeros. Now keep in mind that this is just display only. So this doesn't really change what numbers you enter in your cells. Let me explain you what I mean. So for example, if I go to the cell and type 420.51, I hit enter, the cell simply says 421. So it rounded it up and it shows 421. However, if I click on that 421 cell and I look here on top, which is what's called a formula bar, you'll see the original number that I actually did type, which is 420.51. So it still saves the real value that you entered. However, with that formatting, it may look like it's a different number. Okay, so now I want something on top that says month-to-month expenses or expense report or something like that. So again, I didn't leave enough space on top. That means I have to go here, right click on number 1 or control click if you're on a Mac and do insert one above. It's gonna add one row above. And see, as I'm adding that, it will take some of the formatting from these cells below. But I don't really need this formatted this way. So I'm gonna just select this area on top, and then I'm gonna go under format menu, clear formatting. So if I do that, that will just take that formatting off from those cells, and now we can work again. So here I want some text that says expense report. However, I want this bigger than this, so I want this, let's say like that, and I want this centered in the middle of this area. So to accomplish this, I'm first going to select this area, so from B1 cell to E1 cell, so that's the area I'm selecting, and then I go on top here and click on this button merge cells. And when I do this, it's going to convert all of those cells to one large cell. So now I don't have 4 cells like I used to have here. See, I just have one single cell. Now I can click on that cell and I can center it. So you can merge any number of cells. I can go here and select an entire area like this and go on top here and do merge cells and see how it converts that entire area to one large cell. What if somebody did this and you want to go back to the regular way Google Sheets has the cells? So you simply click in that cell that's merged, go under that same button and click on it again, and it's going to take us back to our regular cells that are not merged. The next thing I'm going to cover is column size and row size. So let me give you an example. Let's say this, instead of saying car payment, it says monthly car payment. So I'm going to go back, double click on the cell if I want to modify that, and I just type monthly car payment, hit enter. And now my text is too large to fit in this area. So now I need to make this column A larger so it fits. So what do? You go right on top here between these letters A and B, which are names for our columns. And when you go right in the middle of those, you'll see this little cursor. It will let you now change the column size. You click and drag. So if I want smaller, I drag left. If I want bigger, I drag right. See, it fits. Now I can keep doing this until I figure out how large this should have been, right? And size my column. Or your option number 2, if this is where we are, I go between this A and B and I just double click, and it will automatically just size the column to fit the text that's in that column. Same thing you can do with your rows. So if you have this row 1, you want to change the size, you just go and right between 1 and 2. See, drag. That will resize the size of the row, or you simply just double click and it will auto fit the row. There are going to be times when you're going to have multiple columns you want to be sized exactly the same. So let's say for this January, I want this column smaller. So if I go and resize this, it's going to make January smaller. And then I also need February smaller, but I want these to be the same size, not different sizes. So what I can do for this, I can simply first select the columns I want. So columns are B, C, D, E. So I'm going to go from B and select all the way through E. Select this area and then just resize one of those columns. And as soon as you let it go, all columns selected will be exactly the same size. And you can do the same thing with rows as well. Okay, so let's do something like this. It's good enough. Same here. If you wanted these two columns to be of the same size, you just select them, resize them. Here they are. And I'm going to resize this F column to make it smaller. So another way to deal with text that's too long in a column is to use a feature called wrap text. So let me show you an example of that. Let's say this is much longer than this. And I don't want to make this column larger to fit this. I want my column to be this particular size that I defined. But I want this text to somehow fit here. So I can click in that cell and then I go here, see this text wrapping. I click on that and there are multiple ways to wrap. Right now it's in overflow mode. I'm just going to go under wrap and see what it's going to do. It's going to expand the row and it's going to make this multi-line text to actually fit my data in there. We don't really want this, so I'm going to undo that. Undo a couple of times. And that should take care of this. And finally, let's do a little chart from this data. So to do a little chart, what do? You select your data. So when I select my data, I'm not going to include my totals to do this chart. So be very careful when you're drawing charts. Don't include your totals in your selection. I'm going to select again from here through here. And then I'm going to click back on that Explorer tool. This is where we did the sum. Now for now, it just shows me that the total for all of these is this much. So if you wanted that total someplace on your spreadsheet, you would just drag this wherever the total should be. Now I don't really want that, so I'm not going to do that. But also, if I scroll down here, it will give me some chart options. Now this one, I don't really like. It doesn't make a lot of sense. This, pretty good. If you like this chart, you want to add it, I'm just going to go here and do insert chart. And there's our chart. So we can resize this chart. And we can move this around. You can also change the title from whatever it is. So just double click and type whatever you want the title to be. That will be our basic chart. It shows our totals. And what's going to happen now if I change my numbers? Let's do some variations here so we can see actually that things are changing. So I'm going to do 200 here. See how that bar changed for groceries? And that was for April, which is the last month. And that's a nice little chart we can use here. I'm going to also make a pie chart. So with pie charts, you can only have one set of numbers. So see how for this chart, I selected this entire area and I made this bar chart out of this. Now I want to illustrate my relationship between different things I'm spending money on. So I want to use these totals for everything. But for totals, I also need to use labels. So I'm going to select these labels on the left. And again, not including the total, starting from rent to groceries. Then I need to also select these totals. So to do this, I'm going to press Control or Command, depending on what platform you're on, and just select this range as well. Now I have selected all of these and all of these. So after I have them both selected, I'm going to go here to my Explore tool, scroll down, and see we can do this chart again that shows our totals. But I'm going to use this pie, this one below. I'm going to click this little plus icon, and that's going to add a chart. I'm going to X out of this. We don't need that anymore. I will probably resize this a little bit, move this around, and then do a label. X out of that, and here we go. Now we have two nice little charts here in the bottom. You can obviously move this around, make it look pretty, and then we have our data on top. In the next video, we'll go over creating some basic formulas, but for this video, that should be enough. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.